Remember when $1 could buy you a comic book, a pop, and a bag of chips, and you'd still get change back? When Saturday mornings meant Rocket Robin Hood and a bowl of Sugar Crisp, and nobody worried about screen time because screens weren't the problem? If you grew up in Canada in the 1970s, you lived through something special, something that can't be replicated, can't be downloaded, and can't be explained to anyone who wasn't there. This was the decade of shag carpeting and wood paneling, of Terry Fox and the Summit series, of corner stores that sold penny candy and gas stations that actually pumped your gas for you. Life had a rhythm back then, a pace that let you breathe, let you think, let you just be a kid without the weight of the world on your shoulders. The 1970s in Canada weren't perfect. We had our share of problems, our economic struggles, our political drama. But there was something in the air, something in the freedom we had, something in the way communities worked together that made it feel like anything was possible. In this video, we're going to walk through what made growing up in 1970s Canada so unforgettable. From the music that defined us to the games we played, to the food that fueled our adventures. Some of this might make you smile. Some of it might make you wish you could go back, even just for a day. Before we dive in, hit that like button and subscribe. We've got a lot of ground to cover, and trust me, the memories we're about to unlock are worth every second. Let's step into that world. Point 1. Saturday morning cartoons and cereal. Saturday mornings in the 1970s were sacred. You'd wake up early, not because you had to, but because you wanted to. The cartoons started at 7, and if you slept in, you'd miss the good ones. You'd pad down the hallway in your pajamas, the house still quiet, and flip on the TV. The picture would take a few seconds to warm up, that little dot in the center of the screen expanding until suddenly, there it was, the friendly giant, Mr. Dressup, or if you were lucky enough to catch the American stations, Scooby-Doo and the Bugs Bunny Road Runner show. The CBC had its own lineup. Rocket Robin Hood, with that theme song you can probably still hum right now. The hilarious House of Frightenstein, with Billy Van doing a dozen different characters. These weren't just cartoons. They were Canadian cartoons made for us, about us, and they felt like home. And you'd pour yourself a massive bowl of cereal, Sugar Crisp with that bear on the box, Fruit Loops that turned your milk rainbow colors, Captain Crunch that tore up the roof of your mouth, but you ate it anyway because it was delicious. Quisp and Quake if you could find them. Count Chocula around Halloween. Nobody talked about sugar content or nutritional value. It was cereal. You ate it, you watched cartoons, and for 3 or 4 hours every Saturday morning, the world was perfect. Your parents would sleep in, grateful for the peace and quiet. You'd sit cross-legged on the shag carpet, inches from the screen, completely absorbed in whatever adventure was unfolding. And when the cartoons ended and the sports came on, that's when you knew it was time to go outside. Point 2. The corner store and penny candy. Every neighborhood had a corner store, and every kid knew exactly how far their allowance would stretch. The bell above the door would jingle when you walked in, and Mr. Patel or Mrs. LeBlanc would look up from behind the counter and nod. They knew you. They knew your parents. They knew which candy you liked and which hockey cards you were still trying to collect. The candy counter was pure magic. Glass jars filled with everything you could imagine. Black balls, red hots, licorice whips, jawbreakers that changed colors as you sucked on them. Those little wax bottles filled with colored sugar water that tasted terrible, but you bought them anyway. Penny candy actually cost a penny. 2 for a penny if you were lucky. You could walk in with a quarter and walk out with a paper bag full of sugar that would last you all afternoon. And the freezer in the back had popsicles and Rebels and those orange creamsicles that melted faster than you could eat them on a hot summer day. Glass bottles of Coke and Orange Crush and Tahiti Treat that you'd return for the deposit because 5 cents was 5 cents. The comic book rack spun near the front. Archie, Superman, Richie Rich, Casper the Friendly Ghost. You'd read them right there in the store if the owner wasn't watching too closely. Careful not to bend the pages, because if you damaged it, you bought it. But the real treasure was the hockey cards. O-Pee-Chee packs with that stick of pink gum that was hard as a rock and tasted like cardboard. You'd rip open the pack right there on the sidewalk, hoping for a Daryl Sittler or a Guy Lafleur or a Bobby Orr if the hockey gods were smiling on you. And if you got a double, you'd trade it right there on the street corner. No apps, no online marketplaces, just two kids negotiating a deal that felt as important as any business transaction in the world. Point 3. Playing outside until dark. Summer days in the 1970s stretched on forever. You'd finish breakfast, head outside, and not come home until the streetlights came on, or your mother's voice echoed down the block calling you for supper. No playdates, no organized activities, no adults hovering over every game making sure everyone played fair and nobody's feelings got hurt. You just went outside and found something to do. Road hockey was religion. Someone's driveway or a quiet street became the rink, boots or rocks for goalposts, a tennis ball, or a proper puck if you had one, sticks that were too long or too short or cracked and taped back together. "Car," someone would yell, and everyone would scatter to the sides, waiting for the vehicle to pass before resuming play. The driver would wave. You'd wave back. Nobody got angry. It was just part of the game. Kick the can in the evening when the shadows got long. Hide and seek that covered 3 or 4 backyards. British bulldog that left everyone with scraped knees and grass stains. Red Rover that was probably too dangerous, but nobody cared because broken bones healed and memories lasted forever. You'd build forts in the woods using scrap lumber and old sheets. You'd ride your bike to the variety store 2 kilometers away, and your parents wouldn't worry because everyone's parents knew everyone's kids and the whole neighborhood was looking out. You'd play until you were filthy, exhausted, starving, until the mosquitoes came out and the streetlights flickered on and you knew you had about 5 minutes to get home before you were in trouble, and you'd do it all again tomorrow. Point 4. The Summit Series and Hockey Fever. September 1972. If you were alive and Canadian, you remember exactly where you were. The Summit Series wasn't just hockey. It was Canada versus the Soviet Union, democracy versus communism, our way of life versus theirs. And it was happening on ice, the one place where we knew we were supposed to be the best in the world. Schools wheeled TVs into classrooms so kids could watch the games. Offices shut down. Factories went quiet. The entire country stopped to watch, and when we lost the first game on home ice, 7-3, it felt like a national crisis. How could this happen? We invented hockey. This was our game. But then, Paul Henderson scored. Game 6 in Moscow. Game 7 in Moscow. Game 8 with 34 seconds left in the third period. Henderson takes a shot, it's blocked, he gets his own rebound, he shoots, he scores. Foster Hewitt's voice cracking with emotion. "Henderson has scored for Canada," grown men cried. Strangers hugged in the streets. It wasn't just a goal. It was proof that we could compete with anyone, that we belonged on the world stage, that being Canadian meant something special. If you were in school, you remember the eruption in the classroom. If you were at work, you remember the celebration. If you were at home, you remember jumping off the couch and screaming until your throat was raw. The Summit Series united the country in a way nothing else could. For those few weeks in September 1972, we weren't English or French, East or West, urban or rural. We were Canadian, and that was enough. Point 5. Music and the radio. The 1970s had a soundtrack, and it played constantly on AM radio. Chum in Toronto, CKLW in Windsor, CJED in Montreal, CKNW in Vancouver. Every city had its station, and every station had its DJs who felt like friends you'd never met. You'd listen on transistor radios at the beach, on 8-track players in your parents' car, on stereo systems in wood-grain cabinets that took up half the living room. Canadian content regulations meant we heard our own artists. Gordon Lightfoot singing about the Edmund Fitzgerald, Anne Murray with Snowbird, the Guess Who, BTO April Wine. These weren't just musicians, they were ours. But the radio also brought us everything else. Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, the Eagles, Fleetwood Mac. You'd wait by the radio with your finger on the record button of your cassette player, hoping to catch your favorite song so you could make a mixtape. And when you finally saved up enough money, you'd go to Sam the Record Man or A&A Records and buy the album. The whole album, not just the single. You'd take it home, carefully remove the shrink wrap, pull out the vinyl, and drop the needle. Album covers were art. You'd study them while the music played, read the liner notes, memorize the lyrics. The crackle and pop of vinyl wasn't a flaw. It was part of the experience. Music wasn't background noise, it was the main event, and discovering a new band or a new song felt like finding treasure. Point 6. Terry Fox and Canadian Pride. April 12, 1980. Terry Fox dipped his artificial leg in the Atlantic Ocean in St. John's, Newfoundland, and started running west. The Marathon of Hope captured something essential about being Canadian in that era. Here was a kid, 21 years old, who'd lost his leg to cancer, running across the country to raise money for cancer research. Not for fame, not for glory, because it was the right thing to do. Every day, he ran a marathon, 42 kilometers, on one leg, through rain, wind, heat, and pain that most of us can't imagine. And Canadians responded. People lined the highways to cheer him on. Towns organized rallies. Kids donated their allowance. The whole country was watching, hoping, believing. When Terry had to stop on September 1st outside Thunder Bay because the cancer had spread to his lungs, it felt like a punch to the gut. We'd been running with him every step of the way. And now the journey was over. He died 9 months later, just shy of his 23rd birthday. But what he started didn't die with him. The Terry Fox Run happens every year now, in communities across Canada and around the world. Billions of dollars have been raised for cancer research. Schools bear his name. His face is on our currency. But for those of us who lived through it, who watched it unfold in real time, Terry Fox represented something deeper. He showed us that one person could make a difference. That courage wasn't about being fearless, it was about being afraid and doing it anyway. He made us proud to be Canadian. Point 7. Simple pleasures and slower times. What we miss most about the 1970s isn't any one thing. It's the feeling, the pace, the simplicity. Phones were attached to walls. If you weren't home, people couldn't reach you, and that was fine. You'd call them back later, or you wouldn't. Life went on. TV had 3 channels, maybe 4 if you had good reception. You watched what was on or you didn't watch anything, and somehow you survived. Families ate dinner together every night around the table. No phones, no TV, just conversation. Your dad would ask about school, your mom would pass the potatoes, your sister would complain about something. It was normal, it was routine, it was life. Sundays meant a drive in the country, no destination, just driving. Windows down, radio playing, watching the farms and forests roll by. Maybe you'd stop for ice cream, maybe you wouldn't. The point wasn't where you were going, it was being together. Money was tight for most families, but you didn't need much. A new pair of jeans, a trip to the CNE or Klondike days, a week at the cottage or camping in Algonquin or Banff. These weren't just vacations, they were the highlights of your entire year. Life moved slower because it had to, and in that slowness, there was space. Space to think, space to dream, space to just be. The feeling. Close your eyes one more time. It's 1975. You're riding your bike home from the corner store, pockets full of candy, hockey cards in your back pocket. The sun is setting, painting the sky orange and pink. Somewhere down the street, kids are playing road hockey. Your mom is making dinner, Your dad is reading the paper, and everything, for this one perfect moment, is exactly as it should be. The 1970s in Canada gave us something we didn't fully appreciate at the time: freedom, community, and a sense that tomorrow would be better than today. We had less stuff, but more time, fewer options, but more imagination, smaller worlds, but bigger adventures. We can't go back, we know that. But we can remember, and in remembering, we can appreciate what we had, what we've lost, and maybe, just maybe, what we can reclaim. What's your favorite memory from growing up in 1970s Canada? The smell of your grandmother's kitchen? The sound of the ice cream truck? That one summer that felt like it would never end? Share it in the comments. Let's keep these memories alive together. If this video brought back feelings you haven't felt in years, hit that like button and subscribe. Share it with someone who grew up in the same era, because these memories aren't just ours. They belong to everyone who was there. Thanks for watching. And remember, the past isn't gone. It's just waiting for us to visit.